Today, we're going to be setting up a 2D camera, which will follow your main character around. We're going to be using Unity's CineMachine to make this all work. You could write your own camera follower, but this method will get you there quicker. There are a few steps we need to do before we can see some results. Number 1, download the free CineMachine package from the package manager. Number 2, configure a 2D virtual camera. We'll go through all these steps, and you'll be up and running shortly. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's jump into it. Let's say that we have a scene where we have a main character, Bob, and we have a camera that currently doesn't follow our character. We could write a simple script that tracks the character's transform position and moves the camera along with it, but there's a lot more features that we could use with CineMachine. So how do we do that? Let's get out Play. Let's go to our menu bar and we're going to select Window and bring up our package manager. Let me highlight my mouse so that you can see my clicks. Window, package manager. It's going to bring up this window, and you should be able to see CineMachine. If it's not there, then we can type it into this window, CineMachine, and then we can hit install. It should only take a brief moment. It's going to install the packages. CineMachine does a lot of things, not just a simple camera follow. It allows you to have multi-cameras in your scene. Maybe you have more than one character, or you want to have more than one spot for your characters. Maybe you have two characters that you can switch between them, and you want to have one camera focused on one versus the other. There's a lot of ways you could do it. We'll have a different video for that. Now that we've downloaded CineMachine, you can see that it exists in the menu, and what we want to do is create a 2D camera. We'll click on that, and you'll notice that there's a new object in the scene, in our hierarchy, and it says CMVCam1, and that stands for CineMachine Virtual Cam 1. One other factor that gets added, another component, is attached now to our main camera. This is the CineMachine brain. Basically, the CineMachine brain takes commands from our Virtual Cam 1. What's cool about the Virtual Cam is that it controls our main camera. And the best feature that we're using today is the follow field. So what we can do is drag in our main character object, which is Bob in my case, pull it into the follow field, and you notice that when I release, this camera is going to snap to the center, on Bob. There it is. Let me just move this over just a little bit. And if I click on VCam1, you'll notice that there's a few factors we can control. We want to be able to zoom in, zoom out, so that we're showing the appropriate amount of space. Maybe this is enough, maybe it's not. In order to change that, we're going to change the zoom with the orthogonal size. We can click and drag. It should adjust that. We'll minimize this. And the next big thing to play around with our camera follower is all in the body. There's a few things that you'll notice, and I encourage you to hit play and start moving things around. And once our character moves around, you'll notice that the camera is not. If we click on this game window, we'll see some guides, and this shows us what the virtual camera is doing. So when my character moves around, you'll notice that there's a center crosshairs, and that's the center of the camera. But as my character moves around, the camera is slowly LARPing to where our character is. So it's not stiffly following. How do we control some of these factors? Staying in play, let's pull down the X and Y damping. And what this does is it makes the camera follow more stiffly. You'll notice that this dot doesn't deviate from our character. And maybe you want to change the look and feel of your game this way, in that the response is a little bit more tight. If you want it to be a little more loose, then we can change the response in the X and Y values, so that your character can move away a little bit and then the camera slowly catches up. This definitely affects the way that your game feels, and you should change those factors appropriately to how you want it. Next thing that you want to do is maybe you don't want the camera to follow your character right in the center, and you want to show more to the right. Maybe your character is always running from the left to the right, and so you want them to be able to look ahead just a little bit. Maybe then you adjust the screen X a little bit. And maybe you want to balance off the vertical space in your game so that your character stays maybe closer to the bottom. That will be in the screen Y field. Next thing that we want to look at is the dead zone. Dead zone allows your character to move around a little bit in this space. You can barely see this light box, and if my character is moving around in that area, the camera doesn't follow until it pushes into that space. We've all played games like this, and so this is the strength of the CineMachine Virtual Cam. You can control all those factors and have your game feel completely different. So I encourage you to play around with all these things. And one of the dangers that we understand is that if you're in game and you change some parameters, then you lose those factors when you get out of game. Nice thing about this virtual cam and that you can fool around and figure out what you like is that if you have this save during play checked, anything that you change is going to be saved so that you can exit play and not lose those values. So let's say that I'm happy with this. I'm just going to adjust the dead zone a little bit. And be sure to play around with some of these other factors. And let's say I'm happy with that. I'll get out of play. Those values are still the same that I left them at, which is great. I hope you found this video very simple and usable. Leave a comment below if you have any questions. I'll talk to you guys later.